Hey, what's up, guys? It's GaryOak from Base Trade TV coming at you again with vlog number 5, number 6. I've lost count. I missed a couple weeks. I'm lazy, and I'm kind of busy. So, what's been going on the past couple weeks? Well, as you guys probably know, I'm kind of like ponies. I got one of these things. Most of you probably know it's Rainbow Dash, whether you like or hate MLP, because she's probably the most iconic character of the show just because she's got a freaking rainbow colored mane. Um, People who aren't fans of the show won't know that the voice actress for her is actually the singer of a band called Hey Ocean, and the cool thing is, I live in British Columbia, which is where Vancouver is. You guys probably know where Vancouver is. Hey Ocean is actually from Vancouver, and that means they do lots and lots of concerts in BC when they go on tour, and it just so happens that they were playing in my city, literally 2.5 kilometers from my house. So I couldn't resist going to see them. And Ashley Ball, that's the chick who plays Rainbow Dash, actually really liked this plushie, and I was fortunate enough to get my picture taken with her. So that was a pretty fun concert. It was pretty late though. It started at about 10 o'clock, and I didn't get to see Ashley until 2. Yeah, it was pretty late. Luckily, I had a friend with me because I had to walk home from downtown, and yeah, walking home from downtown at 2 in the morning in pretty much any city is usually not a good idea if you're alone. But the streets were deserted. It was a nice, calm evening actually. That happened on November 14th, so about 10 days ago. Then the following weekend, I actually hosted a marathon. Well, I co-hosted a marathon. It was on SyncTube, so I didn't actually have to stream, of the Pony Show, and it was 26 hours. SyncTube hiccup, so it actually lasted longer. It started at about 8:30 in the evening on a Friday and ended at about 11:30 in the evening on Saturday. So it was pretty ridiculous because SyncTube kept breaking down and we had to keep fixing it, and yeah, the whole thing actually crashed a couple of times. I don't know what was wrong with SyncTube that day. Usually it doesn't have that huge issue, but it was fun. We had about 40, 50 concurrent viewers, most of them from Team Liquid, and we gave away 5 shirts. People are pretty happy. And unfortunately, you may not be able to tell, but I got a bit sick during the end of the marathon, and I've been sick all week, so that's one reason why I haven't been around for casting is, yeah, kind of sick, kind of tired, just taking it easy. I haven't even done my housework yet. I should have done it on Sunday, but I was completely dead tired. I didn't even go out to dinner with my folks because my dad usually picks me up on every other Sunday, and I have a nice dinner with my parents. That's pretty much all I see of them nowadays, actually. Kind of an interesting change since I moved out in the at the end of August. But I've pretty much adapted to living on my own. Right now, you'll see my eyes go toward the my monitor a couple of times because Code is on as I'm doing this. I actually ran out of time today. I was planning on doing it after I finished editing a part of a story that I'm working on, and unfortunately, I ended up talking with another writer about his story, and by the time I finally got that finished, I needed to get food in me. And then when I finished eating food, actually, when I started eating food, oh, GSL's on because it's, 8 o'clock start time because it's double broadcast day, the extra Code A matches. So yeah, just kind of watching those in the background. Right now, I think it's Bomber versus Creator. I don't have it maximized right now. So yeah, it's Bomber versus Creator. Should be a fun match actually. Two really top-notch players. Kind of funny to see both of them in round one of Code A. But yeah, I still have more editing to do as soon as I'm done this, and I gotta go to bed in a few hours, lest I be too tired for my 10 a.m. editing session with my editor on my story. So yeah, it's a fun thing. I'm writing for class, or I'm writing for myself, one or the other. It's just writing, writing, writing all day, every day. Trying to keep up on GSL, trying to keep up on vlogs, and then get the occasional StarCraft cast in. I usually play a bit of Diablo 3 on my leisure time. Just doing casual stuff. I don't have any Uber characters or anything. I haven't put the time in. And I don't even really think about efficiently farming. I just think about going through the game for fun. Like, I beat it on MP0 with my barb, then I go on MP1, try and beat it, and then see how high I can go before I have to set it to a lower difficulty and just start farming and get better gear. Or and then like right now I've been recently playing like a monk, but I haven't got him up to even 60 yet, so it's just whatever. I've twinked him out with the best gems I could and socketed items, and I'm just blazing through the lower tiers of the game, no problem. You pop all your cooldowns, and then you seven-sided strike, and you just kill an elite pack in 2 seconds because you have all these damage percent modifiers, and you never die because you have like a 300 life on hit gem in your weapon. So that's a like 300 life on hit's pretty big when you got a health pool of about 3,000. You just don't die. You can like I think on normal difficulty Asmodan, I just sat in two of his big AoE puddles and just kicked the crap out of him because I did more healing than his AoE did in DPS to me, so I just sat through whatever he did. So, what else can I talk about? It's been a while, so I think I owe you guys a long vlog. I'm not sure how many of you guys actually are interested in this, especially since my webcam is kind of crappy. Oh yes, Infestors. I am so happy Blizzard is finally doing something about the Infestor because ever since I've known that Infestors were too good for a long time. Like I felt that for a long time. It's just that Zerg players weren't using them properly at the pro level. And then we see these MLG games and a few GSL like choice GSL matches where a Zerg literally has 40 infestors and he does not lose. It is impossible to kill a Zerg with that many infestors. They just don't die. Because the big problem with Zerg, in my opinion, that makes Zerg too good as a race is all their free units. Infested Terrans, fungal growth, that costs you nothing. It just costs energy. And when you have 40 infestors, as long as you're not really bad with your infestors, guess what? You'll be able to do whatever you want to an army and still have energy left over in case of emergency. And once those infestors spend their energy, you just retire them for a little bit, their energy recharges, and you can go again. It costs you zero money once you get them out. And then Broodlords. Broodlords produce free units. Free units are it's just a problem that Zerg has, like just a design problem, I feel. And with the amount of infestors we're starting to see in some games from Zerg, it's reminiscent of the games where MVP built like a billion ghosts and sniped July Zerg's army to death on Metalopolis, if anyone remembers that legendary match from like a year and a half ago now almost. And here's the thing. Ghosts got nerfed really hard. In my opinion, they got nerfed too hard. I really disagree with the snipe change. I still think it should be reverted in some ways. It should be like, I don't know, 45 damage minus 20 to massive or 50 minus 20 to massive or something. Just so snipe is actually more useful. Because that nerf specifically addresses sniping in Broodlords and Ultralisks. If you only reduce it against massive. And it's still effective against other things. You can still like one-shot workers, one-shot banelings with it. It just makes ghosts more useful overall. But I think QXC suggested that change back when that was like a proposed balance change and everyone was up in arms about it. I agree with that, but I just feel that infestors are to the point where they're even arguably, well, I don't know if they're arguably better than what ghosts were when MVP was abusing them like that, but they're getting pretty close, and we're seeing them in his large numbers sometimes. And when a caster unit like that becomes so prevalent, it really does need to get changed. I really like the changes so far, like making fungal projectiles really good. I'm not sure about the whole. I think the big problem with fungal is that you can't micro against it. If you get fungal, too bad. One fungal plus one baneling hit equals like 30 dead marines almost. That's a little bit of a exaggeration, but that's all it takes. One successful fungal hit and one successful baneling. And you can't really micro against banelings, like if a bunch of them are rolling into your marine line, you can't split because you're fungal because it's silly, it just prevents micro, which is a big problem with it. And yeah, fungal, it's undodgeable. So making it a projectile in Heart of the Swarm is a really good idea. I can understand why they're holding off. Perhaps they feel making it a projectile right away is too big of a nerf. But in Heart of the Swarm, Zerg have enough other tools to make it so that it's acceptable. The Infestor will still be good, but not like too weak, I guess. And making it not affect psionic units for now is actually really good. I really like that change because we'll no longer see, 8 sentries get fungal to death in a Protoss army and just explode, and the Protoss army just snaps like a twig to like 3 fungal growths. I actually really like that. Yeah, Protoss should split their sentries up more, but still, I like the change. Not being able to fungal Warp Prism is actually very interesting because it's a psionic unit. Same with DTs. That makes DTs a lot more powerful. You're gonna have to have spore crawlers and you're gonna have overseers. You can't just use fungal and spines or fungal and lings for defense. So makes DTs a little tougher to deal with. And while I've been talking, Bomber just won 1-0. Spoiler alert. So I missed that entire game. Yeah, that's basically what I have to say about Infestors. I kind of like how Neural's on the chopping block. I don't know what they're going to do with the Mothership. They said they're going to make it not good in pro play. I kind of disagree with that because Infestor Brood, like Zerg Ultra late game, is so ridiculous against Protoss. Like, I remember a time before the Archon Toilet was popularized in pro play. As soon as Zerg got to late game, Protoss basically had to GG. There was no way Protoss could win. And the reason why Protoss versus Zerg way back when was so Protoss favored is Zerg had no idea how to get to late game. Zerg didn't know what the infestor button did. Zerg had really terrible unit compositions, and it would always go into mid game, and then Protoss would just demolish them with a tier 3 combination versus like Zerg layer tech or Ultralisks or whatever. Zerg just never got to infestor Broodlord properly. And then Zerg actually got there and got there consistently, and Protoss couldn't win the matchup, and then Archon Toilet happened. What I think they should do is I know at one point they changed Vortex to Stasis. Why don't they just make it Stasis? That would make it a lot more fair because if they removed Neural, that would be very fair because right now I feel Neural is needed because of how overpowered Vortex is. Like, one good Vortex completely ends the game. That's one successful spell cast from the Protoss side. But if you flip it on its side there, and the Infestor gets a successful Neural off on the Mothership and wastes the Vortex or toilets your own army, as Protoss, you lose. So it's really, I just think it's a bad design overall, but that's just how the game works, and it's poorly designed in my opinion, but it's balanced, and that's what matters is it's balanced. So I think one thing they should look into is just removing Neural or making it or Neural not work on massive units. I think just making it not work on massive units is what they should do before axing the spell entirely. And if they did that, maybe make it not even require research, possibly. Because then you could still like Neural siege tanks and stuff like that. So it'd still be kind of useful, but you can't like Neural carriers or battlecruisers or Thors or motherships, which is almost all we see it on. But I think if they maybe lessened its energy cost or made it not trainable, as I said, just for free or both, that would like counterbalance the nerf somewhat. And if they did that, obviously they'd have to change Vortex. I think Vortex, as I said, should just be gone and replaced with Stasis because Stasis is a lot more fair since it's not an Arbiter and you can't spam them because Mothership's a one of unit. You can basically afford to have like you can't just spam Stasis on an army. It crowd controls the army, but it doesn't bunch them up to get destroyed by Archons, and it's not a continuous effect like Vortex is. Like once Stasis is cast, it's over. You just give it a really huge range because you can only have one Mothership, and give it friendly fire too. Friendly fire is really important on AoE. Imagine if Fungal Growth hit friendly fire. Just imagine that for a second. I don't know if that would work like Psionic Storm does and EMP does. Like they both friendly fire, but that's one thing to consider. I just don't know if, as I said, I don't know if it would work for Zerg, but I think that's about it. It's kind of hard for me to say too much more about balance because, like, if you look at the World Championship, I think people who quote the World Championship numbers for balance are kind of off because, like, yeah, they're Terran were like not represented at all. Here's why: pretty much anyone that matters, like truly matters at the tip top level, is Korean. And the Korean qualifiers for this were held at a time when it was Protoss dominated, all Protoss all the time, in the metagame. It wasn't a balance issue, it was metagame and maps, possibly maps. And Terran, for whatever reason, just couldn't win at that time. It's not that Terran was bad or broken, it's just Protoss was dominating at the time. It was just how the metagame was working. And because of how the qualifiers of the tournament worked and the structure of the tournament itself, all the Korean representatives, save a couple, were Protoss. So Protoss took top three because Korea cleans house everywhere. That's just how StarCraft works. So that's whatever. And if we look at GSL, it's actually half Terran, half Zerg, no Protoss. And this is like within a week of the World Championships. So, you know, eh, and again, that's part qualifiers. I really think Zerg is it. I think Zerg is the better race right now, but Blizzard has acknowledged that they are toying around with things. I like the Raven change. The Raven change is actually pretty cool. Um, what else are they proposing to change? I'm not sure what else they're planning on changing. Anyway, I believe that'll do it for this vlog. As usual, kind of disjointed, kind of random, kind of a stream of thoughts. Hopefully you guys found it interesting, and I'll try and get back on these every Wednesday, or my head's on the chopping block, as it were. So, have a good one, guys. Thanks for watching.